The movie begins at a lake in a remote forest, where a group of soldiers are moving with the local inhabitants to cross the lake on a paid mission to collect some rare plants from the forest. Suddenly, a snake emerges from under the lake, and one of the officers rashly kills it immediately, trying to prevent an attempt by a local to stop him. Unfortunately, it's too late. Moments later, a large group of snakes attack, and all the soldiers start fighting them off. The locals beg the soldiers to stop what they're doing, aware of the danger they're in, as the soldiers manage to kill all the snakes. Meanwhile, the rest of the soldiers prepare their weapons and notice the shadow of a huge creature in the water. Just then, a giant snake suddenly appears, overturning all the soldiers into the water and begins devouring them underwater. The soldiers desperately try to reach the dock they were standing on, and when they make it, they open fire on the snake. But the snake is unfazed, attacking them with ease and picking off the soldiers one by one. The soldiers decide to move until they reach the forest, thinking they've finally escaped the snake. However, it's merely the calm before the storm, as the snake is stalking them from above, tracking their every move. One local continues to pray that the snake would leave them be, but he is surprised when a viscous substance falls on him. Looking up, he sees the snake right above him, and it consumes him. At this moment, the captain arrives with his soldiers and fires at the giant snake. But it wasn't affected and continued to attack them. The captain pulled out a knife he had and cleverly wounded the snake. The captain took advantage of the snake being distracted for a few seconds and ordered the soldiers to keep shooting at it, but the snake struck them all with its tail. An idea came to the captain's mind. He tried to lure the snake away from the rest and ordered the soldiers to flee. The snake chased the lieutenant, but luckily, he managed to escape as the snake got trapped between the tree trunks. The captain arrived just at the right moment and threw a grenade at it, but the snake struck him with its tail, causing the grenade to explode at both of them. The scene shifts to 2022, where Tom and her friend Q enter a cave and find the lieutenant from the battle against the snake. Despite all the years that have passed, the lieutenant is still terribly frightened and attacks Tom and her friend, but soon calms down. Tom shows him a necklace with a picture of the captain on it, and tells the lieutenant she's the captain's daughter from the battle, and that she has old photos of him and the captain. She's trying to reach her father, whom she hasn't seen in 23 years. At that moment, the lieutenant recalls scenes from the battle with the snake. He remembered being the only survivor of that battle, and told them he was shocked when he saw the snake about to attack and devour him. At that moment, his young daughter appeared, playing a flute, and the snake followed her, obeying her commands. The lieutenant followed the girl and discovered that the snake lived with her and her father, listening to their commands. The father hosted him in his home, treated him, and showed him the safe way back. He took a wooden raft and returned, but since then, he has lived in fear, with people calling him crazy. The lieutenant gives Tom a map to help her as she returns to that forest, because he's too afraid to go with her, so Tom gathers a group of assistants. She goes to the island to prove that Snake Island really exists, and among her team is a photographer named David, a mercenary named Tiny, a woman named Gina, and another guy named Yui. They continue on the river by boat for 3 days. Along the way, they hit something strange, and the boatman tells them he can't continue. They're forced to proceed using wooden rafts floating on the water like soldiers at the beginning of the film. David films the jungle while joking around, and they all get to know each other until something shakes them violently. Tiny and Gina ready their knives, and snakes emerge onto the raft. But Tom's friend, Gio, notices that the snakes aren't venomous, and tells them not to attack. They do find the snakes returning to the water again, allowing them to continue their journey peacefully. They enter the forest, unaware that a mysterious person is following them everywhere they go. They leave the forest and find a house, where 2 sisters, Nancy and Sally, welcome them. Nancy orders her servant to prepare the house for them to rest, but the servant seemed displeased with them. At night, Nancy meets with the locals from the forest to devise a plan to kill these strangers. Here, it becomes clear that Nancy's true nature is that she hates them and wants to get rid of them as well, unlike her sister Sally, who was friendly and nice. The next day, The group leaves the house and decides to explore the forest again, to find a way to Tom's father or gain any information about him, and also to discover the snake's location. However, they notice something strange about the people in the forest. They are positioned in a certain way, and are constantly watching them, as if something is about to happen. Kyo feels a sense of danger and rightly guesses that they are indeed in trouble. They try speaking to the locals, but get no comprehensible replies, leading them to flee the forest. Arrows target Teeny and Gina, who instinctively fight back, defeating their attackers, but collapse soon after. As the remaining members escape, they're cornered by more villagers. Then, the mysterious observer intervenes, using his martial arts prowess to defeat the villagers. However, one manages to hold a knife to Tom's throat. An enormous snake suddenly appears, attacking and throwing the attacker aside, scaring him into abandoning Tom and running away. The snake wraps around Tom, Q, and their friends, preparing to eat them. But the mysterious man takes the gun from Tenny, who has lost consciousness, and shoots the snake to distract it and make it let them go. The snake chases the man into the forest, where the man throws a grenade, blowing up the snake's head. Tom's group returns to Nancy's house, and Nancy realizes her plan has failed, so she prepares another plan. When night falls, Nancy's servant gets ready to fetch the killer who failed to kill Tom and her group. He offers it as a gift to the snake to end his life. At that moment, David the photographer was getting ready to take a shower in the lake, and he saw Nancy entering the lake to bathe. Tom came with his camera and took pictures of her, but Nancy knew he was there and gestured for him to join her. As he approached her, he was enchanted by her beauty, but suddenly David was attacked with a toxic substance. David looked miserable, and the poison came out of his mouth, floating on the water's surface. His friend Yuhi, who helped him get to the house, saw him. Sally then explains to them that he was poisoned with a rare poison, and that the antidote is only available in a cave, and she will help them reach it. This is all part of Nancy's plan, as she knows the antidote is in the cave. So the whole group prepares to go there, and they reach the cave with Nancy's servant behind them. Sally reveals the reason for Nancy's hatred towards strangers. A long time ago, their father brought them snake eggs as a gift, and they were raising them. But the villagers beat their father to death in front of their eyes, forcing them to leave the village. They stayed in the forest. That's why Nancy worries about any strangers coming to the house. After that, they tied the ropes and went down. Teeny was the guard of these ropes in case anything happened. When they went down, it wasn't the plant that Tori used, but Nancy's servant threw a poison arrow at Teeny's neck, and he fainted immediately. He grabbed a knife and was ready to cut all the group's ropes. The group below was shaking, holding each other's hands and screaming for Teeny. But just before the rope was about to be cut, the mysterious man appeared again and aimed an arrow at the servant named Ben. When Ben recovers, he quickly escapes and returns to Nancy. However, their rope is quickly severed, but they hold on to each other. They decide to let go of each other and make a sacrifice. They do let go, but discover they haven't fallen far because they were very close to the ground. They obtained the appropriate antidote for David's poison. Meanwhile, Nancy set a trap for Gina, whom she had taken hostage at the house, and put a knife to her neck. Tom's group was exploring the cave until they found a set of instructions indicating that someone had been living there, and Tom finds her father's ring. So you know, it might be him living here. Sally was looking for an escape route when they found a collection of huge snake eggs. They were trying to get out, but Yuhi accidentally bumped into an egg, which rolled and broke. A giant snake emerged from its lair and saw its eggs broken and kept chasing them through the forest non-stop. But they knew they couldn't keep running for long and had to find a solution. Kyo noticed it started to chase Sally and Tom, so he hit the snake to draw its attention away from Sally and Tom. He kept running after him continuously until he reached him and the rest of the group at the lake. But unfortunately, the snake appeared again, and the mysterious man also appeared and stood over him, revealing the snake and showing that he could control and manipulate him. We find out that this man is Tom's father, the captain who disappeared 20 years ago. He realized all his soldiers had died, so he found an egg by the tree, took it, and raised it, forming a family with the snake. The captain and Tom had a victory necklace. She couldn't believe she finally found her father, and they returned home. Nancy, who had tied Gina to the wood, was being tormented. Sally arrived just in time and asked Nancy to let them go, but Nancy refused and used Tomo, who was with her, to discuss between the sisters and freed Gina. Yuhi tried to put the antidote in David's mouth, but they were spotted by Nancy's underling. Nancy pulled out the flute and summoned the black snake that she had been controlling all this time. The captain appeared with a whistle and summoned the brown snake, resulting in a continuous battle between the two snakes. Initially, the brown snake was winning, but the black snake appeared and started making circular movements. The brown snake attacks and subdues its opponent, but eventually, the black snake wins. Ben attacks the captain, and Gina goes after Nancy, but Ben isn't skilled enough for the captain, an expert in combat. The captain gains the upper hand and stabs Ben several times. However, Ben doesn't give up and lands a strike on the captain. Gina confronts Nancy, who hides behind the sheets and lunges at Gina. Gina dodges the attack, seizes the knife, and stabs Nancy in the side. However, the black snake is behind Gina and strikes her. Gina finds a bomb, turns it on the snake, blinding it, forcing it to attack humans randomly. Sally tries to protect Gina, but Nancy sacrifices herself for her sister Sally. They're all trying to escape, and Tom's father, who was severely injured, ended up dying just like his brown snake after its battle with the black snake. Although the brown could have won, the black snake, through cunning and circling, managed to ambush, defeat, and kill the brown. The whole group started running from the black snake chasing them. It was about to attack them, but they quickly heard the sound of a massive earthquake that scared the snake into the ground. A gigantic snake appeared, much larger than the others. But he didn't harm the humans and considered that he saved them. The group continued to bury their friends who died. Tom buried her father and cried because she surely felt she was the reason for his death. The group, along with Nancy, decided to leave that place, marking the end of the movie. Thank you for watching.